TOMz.
Sanibonani bafethu emakhaya, welcome to uhlelo lethu le-TOMz khona la ku-SABC 1 Mzansi for sure, proudly sponsored by SABC Education.
We are back and we want to what our country has got to offer for you guys. Kata kulena re tla be re ithuta more about the science and technology of
So namhlanje sabe sithola kabanzi ukuthi icathulo zenziwa kanjani, how they affect our feet, and sabe sikhuluma nabantu bala eMzansi who are in love with shoes.
I know kilo utlaka the high heel workout.
No.
Do you guys know where the shoemaking industry comes from? Well, then these are some of the questions that Araba ka chekulena. So here are the highlights for today's show. Learn about the oldest shoe factory in South Africa. Re ithute hore di high heels tsona di kene jwang into fashion. E be re bontsha how shoes are made as we visit a shoe manufacturing company. Re ithute ka the anatomy of your feet, le hore di tlhako tsa hao di affecta jwang maoto a hao. Check out some cool do-it-yourself applications and the future of shoemaking. And get some cool shoe tips and advice from our guests on today's show. So, how many pairs of shoes do you have? Hobaneng basadi ba na le an obsession ya dieta. Ebile dieta tsa hao tsona di ring about you. Re botsitse lona you guys, so a re tsamaye re utlwe.
I don't really count the shoes I have, but I'm into sneakers.
Okay, I own about 15 to 20, and I'd say my favorite are heels.
Yeah, because icathulo ngithi sihamba nadi way ogcoke ngakhona. If mawungagcokanga smart enyaweni, then obviously naphezulu atha very disturbing yabo.
Ba icathulo zibanikeza leso sithunzi abasifunayo like emphakathini.
No. Yeah, guys don't really go mad over a lot of stuff. Usually cars.
Like I know a lot of people with over 20 pairs of sneakers in every color, every brand.
Yeah. Cause yabona isicathulo sigcokile sibonisa ukuthi what type of person you are, uyangisola.
Angeke vele agqoke icathulo anganaso isizathu. So manje ugqoka a certain pair of icathulo uzobe afuna ukubonisa something ngaye or to portray a certain picture ebantwini.
In Viki la TOMz we feature South African legends, and today's legend is not one person but rather a legendary place where sithola abantu bala eMzansi who produce 100% handmade leather shoes.
This shoe factory is the oldest shoe factory mona ya rona. Do you guys know your SA legends? Well, let's go and find out.
I don't know.
I could see.
Then I have no idea.
The Wapethal factory yatholwa ngo-1836 and is the oldest shoe factory la eMzansi. Abayenzi becathulo eWapethal produce 100% handmade leather shoes ezaziwa njengama-valleys, a shoe with untanned leather believed to have been made by the Khoisan. The factory manager Arnold Hertz has been working at the factory ukudlula iminyaka 835. Ubaba wakhe usebenze khona before him. Ubhuti wakhe uJohn has been working there for almost 30 years. Jaguaba's Valentine is third-generation craftsman emdenini wakhe and has been part of the shoemaking team for 2 decades. Gerard Farao naye ulandele in his father's footsteps. Colin Zamiri is the most recent addition to the team. Our beloved Ubabu Nelson Mandela wavakashela le factory wathola a pair of valleys which he put on immediately. Ngoba the Wapethal shoe factory necathulo zabo are just so legendary.
Kina Baby, I dance, sing, act. I'm 20 and Kira second year. I choose to tap dancing because I feel it's the most beautiful form of dance, and you make sounds with your feet, so you make music while you're dancing. You don't really need how talking me not to do tap dance. So it's very creative, it's very unique, you know. You can express yourself better when you're tap dancing. That's how I feel. Okay, what I can tell you about tap dancing is that it's not the easiest form of dance. It's quite difficult. You have to be musically in tune with yourself, and you have to you have to be aware of what's going on. You have to listen to what you're doing and still give a stellar performance. It improves your your cardiovascular health because you need a lot of stamina and you need to breathe a lot when you're tap dancing. So it's like running, but you're dancing. So it improves like your breathing and your cardiovascular muscles. What I can tell you about tap dancing shoes is that they have these metal plates on, and that allows you to make the sound, which makes tap dancing, which gives you the, why it's called tap dancing. Without these, it's not really tap because there's no sound coming out of the shoes.
My name is Megan Rosenberg and I teach tap dancing. I teach in my own studio with little people. I teach at the different universities and I train musical theatre and dance students. Your tap shoes you've got different styles. You have your basic tap shoe which has got a thin sole, okay? On every tap shoe you have a ball and a heel, metal plate. This one is quite a unique one. It's got a thicker sole, okay? It is not shanked. A shank is a metal piece that goes through the shoe to make it stronger. What this does is give better sound quality because of the thick sole. Now this is a very beautiful pair of shoes. These are handmade. If you can see, they're hand stitched. Okay, they are double soled and shanked. These were designed by Jason Samuel Smith, who is one of the world's top tap dancers. All the tap shoes have screws. Right, we loosen and tighten the screws to tune our taps to whichever floor we're working on, like a musician would tune their musical instrument. We tune our taps to our floors. You can take any shoe and put taps on them, provided you get your shoemaker to put leather on the bottom, because if it's a rubber sole, the screws won't stay in, they'll pop out. If it's a felt sole, you'll actually have your screws coming through and poking you in the toe. Any shoe will work. We've done it with barter toughies. Well, taps are taps. They are built specifically. We don't go and get a piece of metal and put it on. Okay, we actually get specific taps, although the very first tap shoes ever in the world were copper pennies, coins that they knocked onto the bottom of their shoes, and those were the first taps they ever used. It doesn't make a difference whether the shoe itself is plastic or felt, you name it, or material, provided the bottom is leather. Although I must tell you that a heel does help, because when we do a lot of heel work, if it's a flat pair of shoes like Tommy Tackies, we can tap in them, but it's not that easy because a heel really does work for us. To make your basic tap shoe at home, if you're a shoemaker, it's easy. Otherwise, you take your, let's call it our barter toughies, to your shoemaker. He needs to put a piece of leather from there to there, about that thick, onto the bottom of the shoe. After which, when you buy your taps, you get something called a soundboard. It's a piece of cardboard in the shape of a tap. That gets nailed into the bottom of the shoe. After which your tap, your metal piece, gets screwed on.
We share some cool shoe facts with you guys. So how the shoe industry has evolved over the years. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back.
So, ba di etsa jwang dieta? Ene ke bo mang batho ba teng? Re tshaketse a shoe manufacturing company gore re kgone go ithuta more and discover how the shoe making industry has evolved from handmade shoes to all the different styles we have today.
TOMz.
Unser Shabelete TOMz mo SABC 1 Mzansi for sure, proudly brought to you by SABC Education.
And in we're discovering the science and technology behind ikatsulo, and we also get to talk to some of SA's biggest shoe lovers.
Ka tlo re batla go ithuta gore dieta tsona ba di etsa jwang hantle le gore this shoe making industry yone e ntse fetoa jwang ha ntse go ya nako.
Okay, Kamzos, have you ever wondered where sneakers come from? Whoever made heels popular? Well, we're going to be sharing these interesting facts on today's episode, so Hlalin Lab.
So here's what's coming up on today's show. When humans started wearing shoes, we share some interesting shoe facts with you guys. So how are shoes actually made? Re tshaketse a shoe manufacturing company gore re kgone go iponela and find out how the shoe making industry evolved into the global operation it is today. Le tseba eng lona ka dieta? Ra tseba gore the main reason re na le dieta gore re kgone go sireletsa maoto a rona. Be it sports shoes, winter boots, kapa our dancing shoes. Dieta tsa rona are there to protect us from environmental hazards.
Did you guys know that shoes were identical until the 19th century, when the left and the right-footed shoes were discovered and made in America? Well, here's some interesting shoe facts, Ben Ngawaz.
2 left feet.
Let's go.
The anthropologists did around 40,000 years ago. A single piece of rawhide that enveloped the foot for both warmth and protection. Study shoes became widespread between 40,000 and 26,000 years ago. Covering the studies of early human foot bones, became weaker during this time. Why? Because humans didn't need their toes for heavy grip anymore. The Middle East, where they were added to the shoes of from the burning sand. The Kwakwa are believed to have originated with Catherine de Medici, a 16th century Italian noblewoman. Sneakers were first made in America in 1916. They are one of the most popular shoes. So how exactly are shoes made? South Africa, we talk more about the process of shoemaking. Take a look.
My name is Dion and I work for a company, Wayne Plastics. We are producers of gumboots for South Africa, and we produce approximately 2.5 million pairs a year in this facility that you see behind me. The process to create gumboots are actually very, very simple. I'll just take this for instance. What you see here is PVC. This is not rubber as the misunderstanding by many people are. It is PVC, polyvinyl chloride, and it is a synthetic rubber. Very easy to produce, very easy to reuse. In other words, it's green friendly. We can recycle it all the time. The ingredients for the compound to make a gumboot, the first and most important ingredient is the resin, and we buy it in powder form. That powder form is mixed together with a plasticizer. A plasticizer is almost like an oil, and this oil determines the softness or the hardness of the material. In other words, the flexibility of this boot. We are standing outside in the yard where the main silos with all the raw materials is. On these two silos we have oil. I spoke about the plasticizer. Now this is what it looks like. It's a very clear oil. It's harmless and it gets delivered in a 30-ton silo to us from trucks. The next component and the main component, what I said to you earlier, is the actual PVC powder. And that is in this silo behind me. Now both of these silos are connected to a computer which will explain from the computer how much must go into a mixing bin inside the factory. Now we're inside the factory where we actually make the compound. We're taking all these ingredients, we're putting it together into this major big blue bin up top there. All the ingredients go in there and it gets mixed together. You remember the white powder that I spoke about? Now, a certain amount which is measured beforehand goes into a bin. The next most important ingredient was the plasticizer. It's also pre-measured by the computer. That goes in. Calcium, stearic acid, stabilizer, wax, all of these things. Once you put them all together, that big mixer will mix this lot together. And after a certain amount of time in the mixer, with all of these ingredients in the mixer, we have a product. And this is what it looks like. Now it's hard to believe that there was 100 kilograms of powder up there, plus about 60 kilograms of oil. And this is the type of thing that comes out at the end of the day. Now we're halfway to making a pellet, a compound. Now once that compound has been made, we will take it in bins to the manufacturing side where the actual boot is made. In other words, to the carousel injection molding machine. This particular material will be sucked up, the pellet form sucked up into a conveyor, dumped into a barrel. This barrel on the machine, which you will be seeing soon, is actually conveying the pellets forward, melting it because it's heated, this barrel, down to a liquid form. We can see when we purge the machine that the liquid form will come out. Now you can understand then, if it's so soft and molten, it's easy to force that material into the mold. And that material will flow all around in the mold, forming this. We are standing on a machine right now where we're actually molding the gumboot with molds on the machine. The first stage is to take a sock and pull it over the last of the mold. And remember, there's two reasons. The main reason is a little bit of comfort and also ease of removal of this boot after it's been injected around this table. And now this machine will rotate every 45 seconds by one station. What you see in front of you is the socks you've actually put onto the last now. That carrier is ready for injection. The one next to it, under those yellow pads, have already been injected. It will release the carrier, it will move away, and this one will move in for the next injection. The mold is opening right now with the completed boot on the last. You will extract it by hand. The sole is still molten and soft. And this is why we take this boot, which is so hot still. We place it into this cooling unit on these racks. It will rotate around and cool down. Once that has been done, we will trim off the top, the excess material. We will also hand trim the excess material that has been molded onto the boot, and we'll put a print on the boot, signifying what this boot is suitable for. Once that is done, we pack it 10 pairs to a carton, and voila, the customer gets it.
So sikhuluma nge-fact ukuthi ama-scientists akholelwa ukuthi iy'cathulo zaqala ukugqokwa 14,000 years ago. But how did the shoemaking industry evolve? Let's turn back the clock and let's go find out.
For most of history, shoemaking has been a handicraft ethatha isikhathi esiningi. Traditional shoemakers kuthiwa bebasebenzisa more than 15 different techniques ukuyenza icathulo, including pegged construction, stitch down, and moccasin. The production of wooden shoes was widespread during medieval times. Icathulo ezinjalo were made from a single piece of wood roughly cut into a shoe form. Until the 19th century, shoemaking bekuyi traditional handicraft. But by the end of the century, it had been almost completely merchandised, with production occurring kuma factory amakhulu. The invention of the sewing machine as well as the shoe stitching machine greatly influenced ukwenziwa kwecathulo.
Ha re khutla re ithuta ka anatomy ya loto, re bone gore dieta di na le impact e jwang mo maotong a rona. So bone le rona ko Facebook le ko Twitter le re sele di-comment tsa lona gore rona re kgone go lefa di-shout out. Coming up, we find out about Masapo Island Kamamatung'a how. Check out Shoe Production of the Future and get some cool DIY apps for your phone. And we get some cool tips and advice from our guests on today's show.
TOMz.
This video face and you guys are still tuned into TOMZ. Konalago SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Proudly sponsored by SABC Education.
So bakatse ko re le bontshitse some cool technology and sciences tse re di fumanang ka mo hara sieta. Ebile leng hape ra le bontsha le re dieta tsona di impact jwang maoto a rona. Re le bontshitse hape le the shoemaking industry hore yona e ntse fetoga jwang ha ntse go ya nako. And we also showed you guys hore dieta ba di etsa jwang today.
So namhlanje sabe sibheka at some interesting shoe crazy like high heel workouts and shoemaking of the future.
So today on today's show, re le bontshitse hape some cool interesting shoe facts. Ra le bontsha hape le hore baetsi ba dieta tsona mona mo South Africa ba di etsa jwang, and we also celebrated the oldest shoemaking factory in South Africa.
Still up, coming up next.
Re ithuta ka Foot Anatomy 101, le re dieta tsa hao di impact jwang maoto a hao. Check out Shoemaking of the Future and get some cool DIY apps on your phone.
There is no such thing as the perfect shoe. Yep, I said it. Different shoes are worn for different activities. But while some might fit better than the others, it all depends on the shape and structure of your feet. As I'm at the 101 of Foot Anatomy. Let's go check it out.
Hona le masapo a 26 and masapo a na di joints tse 33 ka mo hara lunto la hao, making up 1/4 of the bones in your body. Lunto la o na le over 100 muscles, ligaments and tendons, including the strongest tendon ka mo hara mmele wa hao. Our feet contain over 200,000 nerve endings and over 250 sweat glands. Unchecked populations are groups of people who either wear minimal footwear or none at all. Ibilani bona ba exist in many parts of the world, including Hanamona, more Africa. These populations have healthy and functional feet. Ibila bona ba experience almost none of the common foot problems shoe-wearing populations do. Such problems include the bunions, lady hammer toes, as well as heel elevation, tapering toe boxes, and rigid soles. The scientists did risk para dieta too often and to give your feet a break every once in a while, to be strong and healthy.
Ikusasa shoemaking might just save us from wearing icathulo that really do not fit our feet. Okay, wazama ukufaka icathulo esiyize yakho, kodwa it's too big or too small phambili or around the bridge. 3D printed shoes zingachenja konke lokho. Ama-scientists nama-designers are working on a system ekuvumela uthathe pictures of each of your feet, usithumela to a company who will then use a special software ukuyenza i-blueprint yenyawo zakho and then print a shoe that will be the perfect fit for you. Sisakhuluma ngama-size, mangabe uhlala uxakeka ngama-shoe sizes and the difference between UK, USA namanye ama-size systems, then you can download the shoe size converter kwi-Android smartphone yakho and convert sizes between different systems kusuka emhlabeni jikelele. A cool way to stay shoe smart.
It is that time of the show, Bafethu, where we chat to you guys via our social session. So if you're on Facebook or on Twitter, all you gotta do is log on now.
Well, I've got O'Brien on Twitter, and come on, ama gumboots are like the most proudly South African shoes ever.
Well, I agree with Brian, and not only do they have like a rich history, but they are also cool. Go on Facebook, Sipete Umpo on Facebook, who wants to send a shout out to all her friends, telling them to watch TOMz. Go Umpo, you rock. And she says she loves her shoes and she owns like 100 of them. Yo, wow, wow.
Did you know there's this guy in the Guinness World Book of Records who owns like a collection of 2,500 trainers?
Huh?
He had like the largest trainer collection in the world.
Yo.
Got the worst things on eBay.
Oh, I mean, but Katula are very serious, eh? So guys, Stelaman is on today's show to give us some cool advice on shoes and the health of your feet. Konamaje, listen up.
For somebody watching the show who would like to go into tap dancing, there are studios all over the country in every area where you can learn to tap. You want to go into musicals, you need to know how to tap dance. Musicals, dance companies, there is work out there, but you need to, I always say, one needs to be a triple threat. Learn to sing, learn to dance, learn to act.
For the young people out there who's interested in a career in footwear or footwear design, shoe design, or anything of that sort, my suggestion would be contact the Podiatry Association of South Africa or perhaps a Technikon or a college, and I'm sure they will be offering some sort of courses in footwear design and or any other career you want to follow in the footwear division. Mold making is a very interesting career to follow, and obviously if you would like to get more involved with the footwear side and designing of that gumboot, eventually to make a mold, I would again refer you to the Podiatry Associations and also the colleges.
For more information on today's show, all you gotta do is visit our webpage at www.tomz.co.za. And then keep socializing with us on Facebook and on Twitter. But for now, let's take a quick recap on today's episode.
To celebrate South Africa's oldest shoe factory, Wuppertal, related some cool shoe facts, the introduction of left and right-footed shoes, a shoe manufacturing company, the evolution of the shoemaking industry, discovered the complex structure and anatomy of feet and how shoes can greatly impact the health of our feet. Relevant to the future of shoemaking and discovered why 3D printed shoes might help protect our feet even better than today's modern shoes. And we also got some tips and advice on how to look after your feet from our guests on today's show. So if you want more information, www.tomz.co.za. Nitshela ukuthi ngicabanga ngisho yethu namhlanje on Facebook na ku Twitter. Done and dusted, you guys. Next time, we got some cool SA trends and technologies. SABC 1 Mzansi for sure.
Until next time, your first boy Caddy and your Miss Lady Ukamzozo, we are out of here.
Next time on TOMz, we go and take a look at the science of light. Discover how we can learn what a star is made of by looking at its light. And check out some awesome lasers. Tune in to TOMz every Monday and Tuesday at 4 o'clock only here on SABC 1 Mzansi for sure.